Welcome to the World United. Welcome to the World United.
Another magnanimous personality, Dr. D.R. Karthikeyan. He's well known for his amazing life list of accomplishments. He has held many prestigious positions in the democratic framework of our country. He was the chief of investigation of former Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi assassination case, Director General of Central Reserve Police Force, Director of the prestigious Central Bureau of Investigation, and Director General of National Human Rights Commission. In addition to his professional achievements, he has also authored a stellar Triumph of Truth, Rajiv Gandhi Assassination, The Investigation. This great spiritual ambassador of India says spirituality, after all, is not just about rituals and visits to places of worship, but about imbibing and imparting the right attitudes, values, responsibility, caring, and sharing. Each one of us make our own destiny. Each one of us should take a vow that we shall help and uplift at least one person, one family who are less fortunate than us. As each one of us have the ability to bring peace and harmony to others, let us bring about peace and harmony within ourselves before spreading the same to the family, community, the nation, and the world. So, his topic of presentation today is spirituality and good governance in public life. I'm sorry, spirituality and good governance. So, I think we are going to play his video, sir.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Namaste, good morning, good day, good evening, brothers and sisters, lovers of peace, harmony, and united world. Greetings to all of you. Now the topic for discussion is spirituality, governance, and politics. We all know what governance is, but still, to refresh our memory, governance has been defined to refer to structures and processes that are designed to ensure accountability, transparency, responsiveness, rule of law, stability. The system by which entities are directed and controlled. It is concerned with the structure and processes for decision making, accountability, control, and behavior at the top of an entity. Well, there are 12 major principles of good governance. They are participation, the representation, fair conduct of elections, responsiveness, efficiency, effectiveness, openness, transparency, rule of law, ethical conduct, competence and capacity, innovation, openness to change, sustainability, long-term orientation, sound financial management, human rights, cultural diversity, social cohesion, human responsibilities, and of course, accountability. The World Bank and other multilateral development banks on good governance addresses economic institutions and public sector management, including transparency and accountability, regulatory reform, and public sector skills and leadership. In short, working use of the term good governance include a variety of generally good things. Recently, the term governance and good governance are being increasingly used in development literature. Bad governance is being increasingly regarded as one of the root causes of all evil within our societies all over the planet. The concept of governance is not new. It is as old as human civilization. Simply put, governance means the process of decision making and the process by which decisions are implemented or not implemented. Governance can be used in several contexts, such as corporate governance, international governance, national governance, and local governance. Government is one of the actors in governance. Other actors involved in governance vary depending on the level of government that is under discussion. In rural areas, for example, other actors may include influential landlords, associations of peasant farmers, cooperatives, NGOs, civil society organizations, research institutes, religious institutions, financial institutions, including political parties, the military, and such other things. All actors other than government and the military are grouped together as part of the civil society. Good governance has 8 major characteristics. It is participatory, consensus-oriented, accountable, transparent, responsive, effective and efficient, equitable and inclusive, and follows the rule of law. It assures that corruption is minimized, views of minorities are taken into account, the voices of the most vulnerable in society are heard in decision making. It is also responsive to the present and future needs of the society. Participation by both men and women is a key cornerstone of good governance. Participation could be either direct or through legitimate intermediate institutions or representatives. Ladies and gentlemen, good governance requires fair legal frameworks that are enforced impartially. It also requires full protection of human rights, particularly those of the minorities and the deprived. Impartial enforcement of laws requires an independent judiciary and impartial and incorruptible law enforcement agencies like police forces. Transparency means the decisions taken and their enforcement are done in a manner that follows rules and regulations. Good governance requires that institutions and processes try to serve all stakeholders within a reasonable time frame. There are several actors and as many viewpoints in a given society. Good governance requires mediation of the different interests in society to reach a broad consensus in society on what is in the best interest of the whole community and how this can be achieved. A society's well-being depends on ensuring that all its members feel that they have a stake in hand and do not feel excluded from the mainstream of society. Good governance means that processes and institutions produce results that meet the needs of the society while making the best use of the resources available. Accountability is a key requirement of good governance. Not only governmental institutions, but also the private sector and civil society organizations must be made accountable to the public and to their institutional stakeholders. Good governance is an ideal which is difficult to achieve in its totality. Very few countries and societies have come close to achieving good governance in its totality. However, to ensure sustainable human development, action must be taken to work towards this ideal with the aim of making it a reality. Good governance is an ideal to achieve in its society. It is at the heart of any successful business. It is essential for a company or organization to achieve its objectives and drive improvement, as well as maintain legal and ethical standing in the eyes of the shareholders, regulators, and the wider community. The function of good governance in the public sector is to ensure that entities act in public interest at all times. Acting in public interest requires strong commitment to integrity, ethical values, and rule of law, as well as openness and comprehensive stakeholder engagement. The problem of corruption and lack of sincerity and truthfulness in public life has reached a situation of social turmoil in many countries. People are distressed, disappointed, and angry. The time for a great social and spiritual renaissance has come. We cannot move forward without a philosophy of peace and spiritual values. Although India, for that matter, in many other countries, are rich in resources, the majority of the people in many countries, especially those in the villages, remain poor and unhappy. More than decades of democratic and socialistic rule has not been helpful to bring the fruits of development at the doorsteps of the poor, which shows the lacuna in a political system which is cut off from country's spiritual character. Spirituality is important. India is a nation of great sages and rishis. So also many other countries. They built up the culture of India on truth and dharma. In the olden times, they realized rishis and sages gave guidance to rulers. However, there is no scope for spiritual intervention in a democratic setup in the name of secularism. Same is true of many countries. In the absence of spiritual authority, to evaluate the rights and the wrongs of the rulers, the democratic system has given shelter to a breed of most corrupt politicians and bureaucracy. True of many countries in the world today. The lesson we learn from this is that no ideology without a spiritual base can lead humanity towards peace and prosperity. We need to nurture an alternative spiritual model of governance based on the tolerant spiritual vision of the ancient rishis and scholars. The politicians as well as others always invoke the tolerant character without acknowledging and respecting its resource, which the rishis and sages of this country and many other parts of the world cultivated from time immemorial. Healthy spirituality gives a sense of peace, wholeness, and balance among the physical, emotional, social, and spiritual aspects of our lives. However, for most people, the path to such spirituality passes through struggles and suffering, and often enforce experiences that are frightening and painful. Both religion and spirituality can have a positive impact on mental health. But we are not talking about a religion, the fanatical religion which divides our society. Talking about spirituality, the essence of our religions. In some ways, they provide the same impact. Both religion and spirituality can help a person tolerate stress by generating peace, purpose, and by forgiveness. But benefits generally vary between the two due to their different nature. Bad governance or lack of good governance breeds corruption everywhere. So all the ills of the society everywhere can be traced to corruption and malpractices at different levels of administration of the society. Corruption threatens good governance, sustainable development, democratic process, and fair business practices. While the affluent people bribe those in power to gain undue advantage, and hence they have no reason to complain. It is the multitudes of the poor, the socially, economically, and politically disadvantaged, who are the actual sufferers due to corruption and malpractice. Graft means not being truthful, not being honest. Corruption means harming others, being violent. It is against all norms of ethics, morality, and laws. It is against universal principles of live and let live. The criminal justice system has proved totally ineffective, particularly against the rich and the powerful and influential. On corruption, Mahatma Gandhi, the father of the nation, celebrated as the most celebrated person of the last century, he says, corruption can be eradicated when the large number of people given to the practice realize that the nation does not exist for them, but they exist for the nation. It will require a high level of moral and extreme vigilance, and people who achieve it should influence others, including corrupt officers. Indifference to such matters is criminal. According to the UNDP, corruption is anti-economic development, anti-poor, and anti-national. It is experienced by all countries. It is like the AIDS of society brought out by uncontrolled financial misbehavior. It is responsible for the low morale of people across all walks of life and gives justification to extremist behavior like the Naxalite movement in India. Corruption is is one of the contributing factors for growth of insurgency, extremism, of the nation's inability in effectively fighting with lawlessness and terrorism. So what is the role of spirituality? The religious, I'm talking about the secular religion, not the divisive religion, not talking about the fanatical religion. So the truly religious and spiritual activity is always based on the belief that there exists an all-embracing, transcendental moral law, and that we human beings are bound to submit to its commands. We may define religion also as an all-round movement in the right of faith in on God. Ultimately, after all, there can be only one divine, only one creator, by whatever name we may call in different religions. And a sense of responsibility for the formation of thought and belief, for the promotion of high principles of human morality, for the establishment of good relations among members of the society, and elimination of every sort of undue discrimination and injustice. If there is misgovernance, misadministration, maladministration, corruption, injustice, and violence, to that extent, you can see there is absence of spirituality in the society, or lesser spirituality in the society, administration, governance. Where there is spirituality, there will be justice. And where there is justice, there will be harmony, peace, and prosperity. Spirituality has everything to do in day-to-day life of the individual, the family, the society, the administration, and the governance. When we talk of spirituality in the workplace, the life and philosophy of man of the lost century, man of the lost century, come foremost in our mind. That is the father of the Indian nation, Mahatma Gandhi. He said in one of the lost notes left behind by him in the year 1948, he expressed his deepest social thought by giving us what has come to be universally termed as Gandhi's talisman. He said, gave it to rulers, politicians, in fact for all of us. I quote, I'll give you a talisman. Whenever you are in doubt, or when the self becomes too much with you, apply the following test. Recall the face of the poorest and the weakest man or woman whom you may have seen, and ask yourself, if the step you are contemplating is going to be of any use to him or her, will that person gain anything by it? Will it restore to that person control over its destiny and life? In other words, will it lead to freedom for the hungry and the spiritually starving millions? Then you will find your doubts melt away. You know the right decision to be taken. Unquote. If only we had followed his words of wisdom and advice, our country and every country in the world would have been a far better place than we find them today. Mahatma Gandhi also advised everyone, everywhere, in every walk of life, particularly those in authority and politics and governance, to avoid the following deadly social sins. He said, avoid politics without principles, avoid wealth without work, avoid pleasure without conscience, avoid knowledge without character, avoid commerce without morality, avoid science without humanity, and avoid worship without sacrifice. So spirituality is the essence of all religions. The spiritual person is one who realizes that everyone is part of the totality, the divinity. If we understand that we are part of totality, the truth, the divinity, the all-pervasive energy, all-pervasive energy, then how can we hate other parts of the society? Totally. Spirituality is nothing but being truly religious. That is respecting everyone else as part of the entire creation, and as pure, noble, and valuable as oneself. Nelson Mandela says, I quote, religion is one of the most important forces in the world. Neither you are a Christian, a Muslim, a Buddhist here, Jew or a Hindu. Religion is a great force. As Mahatma Gandhi himself said in his message, he says, a religion that takes no account of practical affairs and does not help to solve them is no religion. Truth is my God. Non-violence is my way of realizing Him. Gandhi considered it the duty of every cultured man or woman to read sympathetically the scriptures of the world. If you are to respect other religions, as we have them respect our own, a friendly study of the world's religions is a sacred duty. Ladies and gentlemen, it is easy enough to be friends, to be friendly to one's own friends. But to befriend the one who regards himself as your enemy is a quintessence of true religion. The other is mere business. People have more money. People with money and power want much more money and power. Hence we see the sorry spectacle of crime, greed, corruption, and people becoming more and more selfish and greedy. All this is due to lack of spirituality and universally accepted human values. Human values are born out of true spirituality. It is values which make human life different from other forms of life. It is values which make life worth living. It is human values which elevate humanity and divine being. Today, the country, the world as a whole is on the verge of crisis for lack of spirituality and human values. To save humanity from self-destruction, we have to inculcate the sense of spirituality and human values from childhood in all educational institutions, in all public institutions, and also in political institutions and environments. Values like tolerance, love, compassion, sympathy, mutual respect, understanding and cooperation, justice and fair play alone can save the world from totality of destruction. People entrusted with governance, administration, delivery of justice, development, law and order, prevention and detection of crime, and even businessmen of all sorts are imbued and endowed with spirituality that will transform the society into an ideal society as attempted by Mahatma Gandhi and other great missionaries all over the planet. So friends, the essence of spirituality is goodness of individuals and guarantee of good governance.